At 3:54 in the morning on September 14th, 2019, a security guard at the Abqaiq oil processing facility in eastern Saudi Arabia hears the first explosion. He is one of the few people on the night shift who looks up at the sky in time to see what is happening. He sees a small, dark shape, no larger than a dining room table, moving across the desert moonlight at low altitude. He raises his rifle. He fires. The bullets do not hit anything. The dark shape continues moving. 3 seconds later, it impacts the side of a 30-meter tall stabilization tower, and the night turns orange. In the 17 minutes that follow, 24 more weapons will do the same thing. They will come from multiple directions. They will fly under the kingdom's most advanced radar systems. They will strike 14 separate fuel storage tanks and 3 processing trains with precision that the Saudi engineers who built the facility had never imagined possible. When the smoke clears at sunrise, 5.7 million barrels per day of Saudi Arabian oil production will be offline. Half of the kingdom's output, 5% of the entire world's supply, gone in less time than it takes to make breakfast. The attack will cost the people who launched it less than the price of a used car per drone. This is the story of the night the cheapest weapons in the world defeated the most expensive air defense system on the planet. We are going to follow the swarm from launch to impact. We are going to walk through every system that should have stopped them and did not. We are going to look at the satellite forensics that revealed who actually fired the weapons and why almost everyone in the world quietly agreed not to talk about it. And we are going to end with a question that nobody in Riyadh, nobody in Washington, and nobody in Tel Aviv has been able to answer in the years since. If a small group of operators with $300 drones can shut down 5% of the world's oil in 17 minutes, what stops them from doing it again tomorrow? The Abqaiq oil processing facility is, by most measures, the most important building on Earth. It sits in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, a flat stretch of desert between the city of Dhahran and the Persian Gulf coastline. Inside its perimeter walls, which extend for nearly 6 kilometers in each direction, 8 processing trains separate raw crude oil from gas, water, and impurities at a combined rate of 7 million barrels per day. That number is roughly 7% of all the oil consumed by the entire world every 24 hours, processed through one facility. There is no second Abqaiq. There is no backup. If Abqaiq goes offline, global oil prices spike within hours. If it stays offline, the world's economic order changes within weeks. It was built between 1940 and 1973, expanded continuously since, and protected by a defense architecture that the Saudi government had spent the previous 20 years and over $3 billion building. American MIM-1004 Patriot missile batteries, French Crotel short-range air defense systems, Skyguard radar guided anti-aircraft cannons, Stingerman portable missiles, an integrated radar network covering every square kilometer of the kingdom's eastern sky. The architects of the system believed it could stop a Soviet bomber raid. On September 14, 2019, it could not stop drones built in workshops for less than the cost of a Toyota Corolla. To understand what happened over Abqaiq, you have to understand what a weaponized drone actually was in 2019. It is not, as most Western observers imagined at the time, a small commercial quadcopter strapped with explosives. The weapons used in the Abqaiq attack were a category that had not existed 5 years earlier. They are now called loitering munitions, and the 18 used in the strike were almost certainly Iranian-made Shahed series airframes, derived from a North Korean design that itself was based on a 1980s Israeli original. Each one is a delta-winged, single-use aircraft, approximately 3 meters long, with a wingspan of 2.5 meters. It runs on a small two-stroke gasoline engine, roughly the size of one used in a leaf blower. It carries between 30 and 50 kilograms of military-grade explosive in its nose. It flies at a top speed of 180 kilometers per hour, at altitudes typically below 500 meters, where most radar systems are calibrated to look upward and miss it entirely. The airframe is delta-winged and single-use. It is, by any conventional measure, a slow, fragile, easy target. A 1980s air defense system should be able to swat it from the sky. A 2019 air defense system should not even need to try. The reason it works is in the swarm and the geography. A single Shahed drone is destructible. 20 Shahed drones attacking at the same time from multiple compass directions at low altitude, while 7 cruise missiles approach the same facility from yet another angle at a higher altitude. That is a problem no current radar architecture is designed to solve. The cost of building this attack package, by Iranian standards, is somewhere between $3 and $6 million. The cost of the air defense it defeated is over $3 billion. The asymmetry is the weapon, and the only people who fully understood the implications of that asymmetry on the night of September 13th were not in Riyadh. The first launch detection comes from a United States Navy radar station in Bahrain at 11 minutes past midnight on the morning of September 14th. American technicians watch a cluster of low-altitude contacts emerge from the southern Iranian coast, climb to 200 meters of altitude, and turn west. They expect the contacts to be Iranian aircraft on routine patrol. The contacts do not behave like aircraft on routine patrol. They do not return to base. They cross the Persian Gulf in formation, then split into 2 distinct groups. One group, smaller and faster, stays at higher altitude and continues west toward the Saudi Arabian coast. The second group, slower and lower, descends almost to wave height and turns north, taking a wide loop through Iraqi airspace. The American technicians flag the contacts to Saudi Air Defense Command at 12:43 in the morning. They receive no response. They flag the contacts again at 1:28 and again at 2:06. The Saudi Air Defense Network, by the third flag, has been informed 3 times that something abnormal is approaching. Nothing happens. At 3:16 in the morning. They fly low over date palm groves, water reservoirs, electrical substations. They are entirely unimpeded. Saudi radar is looking up at high altitude, expecting Yemeni rockets coming from the south. The drones are not coming from the south. They are coming from the north, and from the north they have nothing to fear. By the time the first weapon impacts, the Saudi air defense system has had 4 hours of warning, 3 direct American notifications, and 0 successful interceptions. At 3:54 in the morning, a Shahed drone crosses the eastern perimeter of the Abqaiq processing facility at 200 meters of altitude and impacts a stabilization tower numbered T3. The explosive charge in its nose detonates against the steel side of the tower. A pressurized hydrocarbon line ruptures. A fireball 40 meters wide expands across the workyard. The first explosion has barely faded when the second drone hits. Then the third, then the fourth. They are coming in at intervals of less than 30 seconds, from 4 different compass bearings. 30 seconds. A surveillance camera mounted on the facility's main administrative building captures the first response. A small group of Saudi security guards, armed only with assault rifles, runs out into the open workyard and begins firing into the night sky. The video shows tracer rounds arcing harmlessly into the dark. The drones are too small, too fast, and too distant to be hit by handheld weapons. By 4:05, 11 drones have impacted. The fire suppression system at Abqaiq, which uses high-pressure foam to smother burning hydrocarbons, has been overwhelmed by the scale of the simultaneous fires. Aramco's emergency response teams begin a full evacuation of the facility's residential compound, where over 2,000 workers and their families live. At 4:11, the second wave begins. 7 Iranian Ya Ali cruise missiles, launched from a position later identified as somewhere in southern Iran, descend on the Karai's oil field 150 kilometers to the south. 3 of the missiles fail to reach their target. 4 impact precisely on the wellhead processing infrastructure. By the time the last weapon detonates at 4:11 and 42 seconds, the entire attack has lasted 17 minutes. 5.7 million barrels per day of oil production are offline. Half of Saudi Arabia's national output, 5% of the world's supply. The men who launched the weapons are 600 kilometers away, sitting in operations rooms drinking tea. 600 kilometers. Stop here for a moment. 5% of the world's oil supply was just put offline by an attack that took longer to launch than to execute. The total cost of the weapons used was less than the price of a single mid-sized commercial yacht. The defenses that failed had cost over $3 billion to install. Every assumption about the relationship between money and security in modern warfare is, in those 17 minutes, no longer true. By daybreak on September 14th, the Houthi rebel movement in northern Yemen has issued a public statement claiming responsibility for the attack. A spokesman tells reporters that the strike was carried out by 10 Houthi-built drones launched from Yemeni territory. The claim is repeated within hours by Iranian state media, by sympathetic governments in Damascus and Beirut, and by a wide range of international press organizations who run the headline at face value. The claim is a lie. Everyone with access to the actual evidence knows it within 48 hours. The first sign that the official story is incorrect is geographic. The drones recovered as wreckage from the Abqaiq site show damage patterns consistent with impact from the north and northeast. Yemen lies to the south of Saudi Arabia. Drones launched from Yemen cannot impact a target 600 kilometers north of their launch site without flying directly through Saudi airspace from the south, where Saudi radar is densely concentrated. The second sign is forensic. The drone wreckage shows components of Iranian manufacture, including engine parts, navigation systems, and explosive signatures that match weapons captured from Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps stockpiles in Iraq and Syria. The cruise missiles recovered from Quraysh are unambiguously Iranian Ya Ali variants, a weapon the Houthis have never possessed. The third sign is intelligence. Within 72 hours of the attack, both American CIA and French DSE communications intercepts confirm what their analysts had already concluded. The launch site for the cruise missiles is in southern Iran, near Ahvaz. The drone launch sites are in 2 locations, one in southwestern Iran, near Bushehr, and one in southern Iraq, at a militia base under the command of an IRGC-aligned Iraqi Shia faction. By the end of the week, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have issued a joint statement asserting that Iran is responsible for the attack. Saudi Arabia agrees. The United States agrees. Even the Houthi claim, examined closely, falls apart on its own terms. They describe weapons they could not have built, flight paths they could not have flown, and target precision they had never demonstrated before. But the claim is allowed to stand publicly. Nobody in Riyadh, Washington, or Tel Aviv wants to formally name Iran. Formally naming Iran requires acting on the accusation, and nobody is willing to act. On the morning of September 15th, less than 30 hours after the attack, President Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office and is briefed on the attribution. He is told with high confidence that Iran is responsible. He is told that the Saudi air defense system, which he personally helped sell to the kingdom, failed comprehensively. He is told that the markets are already calculating the potential consequences of a military response. For the next 48 hours, the White House issues mixed signals. National Security Advisor John Bolton, before being fired the week prior, had advocated for direct military strikes on Iranian targets in response to any aggression. Vice President Mike Pence remains hawkish. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi de facto ruler, has been calling Trump for the previous 4 weeks, asking for action against Iran's nuclear program. On September 16th, in a comment that surprises almost everyone, Trump tells reporters, "That was an attack on Saudi Arabia, and that wasn't an attack on us." Within 48 hours, the administration's position settles. The United States will not strike Iran. It will instead deploy 3,000 additional troops to the Gulf region and authorize new weapon shipments to bolster Saudi air defenses. The decision is not framed publicly as a retreat. It is framed as restraint. But inside the Saudi royal court, it is understood differently. Aramco CEO Amin Nasser, in a statement that was carefully crafted to avoid direct American criticism while being unmistakable in its meaning, says, "An absence of international resolve to take concrete action may embolden the attackers and indeed put the world's energy security at greater risk." What he means is this: you sold us this air defense system. It failed. We were attacked. You said nothing would happen if we were attacked. Nothing happened. Now what? The Saudi royal family, in the years following the Abqaiq strike, would make a decision based on this answer. They would begin the slow, methodical process of reducing their dependence on American security guarantees. By 2023, with Chinese mediation, they would sign a formal diplomatic restoration agreement with Iran, the country that had attacked them. The Abqaiq attack did not just take 5% of the world's oil offline. It took the cornerstone of the post-1945 American security order in the Middle East offline. The immediate damage from the Abqaiq attack was easy to quantify. Brent crude oil prices jumped from $60 per barrel to $71 per barrel in a single trading day, the largest single-day price spike in over 30 years. Saudi Aramco's planned initial public offering, then the largest initial public offering in history, was delayed by 2 months while the company assured potential investors that its facilities were defensible. Insurance premiums for Gulf region oil shipping, already elevated, climbed by an additional 30%. Within 5 weeks, Saudi Aramco had restored Abqaiq to full operational capacity in what their engineers called the most aggressive industrial repair operation in the history of the global oil business. The fires were extinguished, the storage tanks rebuilt, the processing trains reconstructed. The price of crude returned to its pre-attack baseline by November, but the structural damage was permanent. For the first time, Every other oil-producing facility in the world had to consider the possibility that its security was illusory. The Patriot missile batteries at Abqaiq had been the gold standard of integrated air defense, the system that Western governments and oil companies had relied on for 30 years to assume their infrastructure was safe. The system had failed against a swarm of weapons that cost less than $5 million to assemble. Within 24 months, the same weapon architecture would appear in 3 other theaters. Houthi forces would use it against Saudi cities and against UAE oil terminals in 2022. Russian forces would adopt the Iranian Shahed design and use it at industrial scale against Ukrainian infrastructure beginning in 2022. By 2024, identifiable Shahed variants were being recovered from strikes against shipping in the Red Sea, energy infrastructure in Israel, and military targets in 3 different North African civil wars. The technology that took out Abqaiq did not stay in the Persian Gulf. It became the dominant offensive weapon of the post-2020 era, cheap, distributed, hard to intercept, and easy to copy. The world after Abqaiq was a world in which the most expensive defenses no longer worked. In the days after the attack, a single moment captures the fundamental shift more completely than any other. A Saudi air defense officer who had been on duty inside one of the Patriot battery operations centers protecting Abqaiq during the strike was interviewed by a Saudi internal investigation team. The transcript was leaked to the Wall Street Journal in early 2020. He describes watching his radar screens during the attack. He watched 25 contacts on multiple bearings descending toward his protected airspace. He activated his system, selected targets, and gave the firing order. The Patriot battery launched 7 missiles. Not one missile intercepted anything. The drones were too small, too low, too numerous. The system, designed to track and engage high-altitude ballistic targets at distances of dozens of kilometers, could not engage low-altitude swarming drones at distances of less than 300 meters. He was asked what he felt during the attack. His answer, translated from Arabic, reads in full. "I had been told for 15 years that the system would protect us. I had trained on it for 10 of those years. I knew every menu, every diagnostic. I had never doubted it. And in 17 minutes, I learned that I had been protecting a building with nothing." The officer was reassigned to a non-operational role within 90 days. He has not given another interview since. In the years following the Abqaiq attack, a quiet but profound shift took place inside every government and corporation that owned critical infrastructure. In the United States, the Department of Defense began a previously deprioritized research program into anti-drone systems specifically designed to engage low-altitude swarms. In Israel, defense contractors began aggressive marketing of laser-based interception platforms designed to engage drones at speeds faster than missile-based systems could load. In the United Kingdom, oil companies began commissioning private mobile air defense radars to supplement national defense. But the gap was, and remains, enormous. The cost of a single attack drone in 2026 is between $200 to $1,000, depending on configuration. The cost of a single anti-drone interception missile is between $50,000 and $300,000. The mathematics are inverted from every previous era of warfare. To shoot down a weapon, defenders must spend 100 to 1,000 times what attackers spent to build it. Iran understood this asymmetry first. Russia understood it second. The Houthis, Hezbollah, the IRGC aligned militias of Iraq and Syria, and the Hamas operation cells in Gaza. Every one of them understood it within a year of Abqaiq. The technology proliferated faster than any defensive countermeasure could be developed. By 2024, the United States Navy was spending an estimated $2 million per intercept to shoot down individual Houthi drones in the Red Sea, most of which had cost less than $5,000 to build. The annual American cost of these interceptions, by mid-2025, exceeded $1 billion. The Houthi annual cost of launching the drones, by best estimate, was under $30 million. The kind of warfare that began over Abqaiq in 17 minutes is now simply what war looks like. Inside the Aramco facility at Abqaiq, in the years since the attack, very little visible evidence of what happened remains. The storage tanks have been rebuilt. The processing trains hum at full capacity. The fire suppression systems have been upgraded. The American Patriot batteries have been augmented with newer Israeli-designed laser interception platforms. The kingdom has spent an estimated additional $8 billion hardening the site. If you stood today at the eastern perimeter, where the first drone crossed at 3:54 in the morning of September 14th, 2019, you would see only a steel security fence, a sand-colored guard tower, and a perfectly maintained perimeter road. What you would not see is the change in the world that began at that exact spot. For 3 centuries, security on Earth was determined by who could spend more on weapons. Empires were built on the assumption that money translated into firepower, and that firepower translated into safety. The Royal Navy, the Roman legions, the American carrier groups, all of them rested on the conviction that the side with more steel would win. The 18 drones that crossed the Abqaiq perimeter at 3:54 in the morning broke that conviction. The kingdom that had spent $3 billion on its air defense had been defeated by an enemy that had spent $5 million on its weapons. The empire that had spent $13 billion on each of its 11 aircraft carriers was now spending $2 million each to shoot down weapons that cost $5,000 to build. Somewhere, in an operations room in southern Iran, in the early hours of September 14th, 2019, a small team of operators clicked a button and changed how war works. They are still there. They have not stopped. If you came here for the kind of investigation the news does not have time to do, the slow, patient unmaking of the world we thought we lived in, subscribe. There is more coming. Most of it is already worse than this.